Well, hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the New Construction Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Anya Kristianten, and I'm very excited to introduce my guest for today, Betsy and Mark Feldmann. They are the founders and co-owners, or whatever you want to call it, the co-presidents.
Betsy's the president.
For Story Marketing. So I'm so excited to have you guys on the show today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having us. It's really going to be fun what we're talking about, I think.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm really excited to, not to spoil everyone, but today we're going to talk about pricing and pricing availability on builders' websites. So you guys know, if you've been following me, that it's been a topic that I've been debating for a long time. And so actually today, before the podcast, I put out a survey on social media to see how many builders are, in fact, advertising or publishing the numbers. And it was interesting to see. So anonymously on a story, they were voting. It was about 50-50. But then on LinkedIn, I guess a lot of people were hesitant to put that information out publicly. So I got a lot of private messages. And so I'll share that information as we dive into the topic. So I'd like to start things off by giving our listeners a little bit of a backstory on who you are, how did you get into this wonderful business, and what is it that you do now? And I know we're going to specifically talk about your new venture. So let's start with how you got started in the industry and what your path has been.
Okay, perfect. So I actually kind of grew up in home building. My dad was a builder and developer. And so that was my childhood. I got a degree in public relations and actually started my career in nonprofit marketing. And pretty early on in my career, my dad said, you might really want to consider doing new home marketing. It's an awesome industry and I think you'd really like it. And so I was super blessed to get a job working for Dave Miles, doing account service. And he just knows so much. And it was such a great place to learn and get introduced to home building. It's just a really cool business.
So my degree is actually in business and computer science. I started my career doing IT work in downtown Chicago. After a while, I realized that probably wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do long-term. At the time, my sister was actually living out here in Denver. She was working in marketing for Oakwood Homes. So she suggested that I check out home building. She was like, it's an awesome industry with a ton of cool people. So I ended up moving to Denver and got a job with Richmond American Homes. And I spent about 6 years in project management with Richmond. So with First Story, obviously we're located here in Denver, Colorado, and we oversee the marketing strategy and implementation for builders and master plan communities. We primarily fill the role of marketing director and ad agency for our clients.
Yeah, so Mark and I actually met through his sister. She was one of my clients at Oakwood Homes. So it's 100% a family thing at this point. And then in 2005, I actually started First Story first. I think that was like right before maybe we met each other. And I saw this need for a smaller, really hands-on kind of virtual agency. And so I started First Story in 2005. And then in 2008, Mark transitioned from Richmond to First Story, and we've been working together ever since.
Wow, what a time to transition, We're in 2008. I give you lots of props for not only, working together, but staying married after working together.
Yeah.
It's been an adventure.
It has.
Mostly good.
Yeah, I can't even imagine working with my husband. So it's got to be interesting dynamic. So, and now that I don't know if before the pandemic, if you guys ever got out and traveled extensively or separate, now I assume a lot of what you do is virtual. So you're in the same household together and wondering if it makes you want to move to a bigger space or not.
I mean, this is kind of how we've been since the beginning. So, I mean, we're really used to it. And actually COVID for us was a little bit easier because we were kind of already in that, mode of being together and working together. It was just shocking to all of a sudden have our child around all the time.
Yeah. That's probably the biggest transition.
That was the transition. Yeah.
Yes, I can relate to shocking to having your child being around. We finally got 4 days back to school, so off they go. So now it's just a little one around here.
Yeah.
Well, so today, we really wanted to talk about builder evolution of this business and specifically builder pricing. So before you and I got on this call, one of the stories I shared with you was that recently I was actually in the market for a new dishwasher. And so as I was searching for this dishwasher, I checked out, Home Depot, Lowe's, and I was reading all the reviews. And of course, there's no way I was going to go into the store and just buy a dishwasher. I was going to order it, or at the very least, if I did want to go to the store to buy it. And the only reason I would have gone to the store to buy it is to make sure that it's actually there, because I know with a lot of appliances right now, again, we're in a shortage situation, and I didn't want to wait for 3 months. So as I was doing my research, I thought, oh, you know what? My local HBA has an appliance store, appliance company, and I would love nothing but more than to support my local HBA member and a small business owner. So I went to their website to find the appliances that I was looking for. And as I was browsing through, when I saw the description, I couldn't find a price. And basically, when you open it up, when you open a specific appliance, it says, submit your information for a quote for a price. And I was like, what? Excuse me, you want me to give you my information just to see how much this dishwasher costs? And so I'm very sad to say that I gave my money to Lowe's and not to the small business owner that probably deserved it way more. But it's a lesson, right?
Yes.
And this is something that we're seeing with a lot of builders. So, when I reached out to the builders today and I said, hey, are you displaying this information on your website, specifically options pricing? Because I think a lot of builders are starting to come around to the idea that we need to show at least the base price on our website. Which is pleasant surprise, or they show total price if it's because a lot of builders right now are also going to kind of a spec building. So they starting to show either base price or total price, which is refreshing to see, because when I sold for a big national builder, we showed the base price, but we did not show any option pricing to our customers. And we did not build spec homes. They were all built to specific customers. So essentially what happened is when a customer signed an agreement of sale, a purchase agreement, we kind of built out that whatever we think is going to be there. They walked away with like a 30-page list of those options. But really in the beginning, they had no idea what this home was going to cost them. And most importantly, they had no idea to visualize like what the options are in the in the design center and how much they were going to spend on that. And I think that's a really, really scary thing to the customer. Would you agree with that?
Yeah,
100%. In fact, we did a lot of research around this, obviously. And we talked to a couple who they found a new home that they really liked. They wanted to buy the new home and they didn't. And so I asked them, explain why. And, the husband said, the bottom line is I didn't really feel comfortable that I really knew what the pricing was. And I was just so concerned that we were going to blow our budget when we went to the design center and actually picked everything. And then I didn't want to let my wife down. And so he said, we bought the house we didn't want, but we knew what the house was going to cost. And so for us, it was like, okay, yeah, wow. This is a big issue for people.
Yes. So, oh my God. So we bought a house we didn't really like because we knew what it was going to cost.
They knew what it would cost.
That. Right. That's in fact, Zillow came out with a report, their 2019 new construction housing report. showed that 64% of people that go into the home shopping process are open to both new homes and resale, but only 9% are buying new. So that means that we're losing, 5 times more sales than we're getting from the new home side. And so for us, that was really like one of the critical things that we were like, we got to figure out what the gap is and how to solve it. And initially it was really just, we need to figure this out for our own clients. But as we went, it became clear that there was a big need.
Mhm.
So you're so right about this number. And actually, Zillow just came up with their 2020 number.
Mhm.
And I didn't see the number for the total buyers open to new construction. But what they did show was people who would only consider new construction. It jumped by like 20% from last year. It was like 35% last year or something like that. Now they're saying it's that number is closer to 55%. So we would
Mhm.
only consider new construction. We're not even looking at resales, which is huge opportunity for us. And I
Yeah.
think part of why um that number jumped in 2020 was because, I mean, pandemic, as terrible as it was, it did kind of a little bit of a wonder for us on one side, because a lot of builders were forced to embrace virtual tours.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I think for the longest time, that was a part of the big issue, right? I mean, there's obviously several things that are going on why there's such a disconnect between that 63% to 9%. One of them for sure is ability to visualize your home. And that is something that I feel like we've done a great job as an industry in 2020 to embrace the idea of, okay, we understand that people are not coming into our model home, and it's crucial that we show them what they're getting. And so now that's available.
Yeah,
Yep.
we totally agree. I mean, this now most builders, you really can see and get a feel for what their homes look like without being physically present in the home. So that's a obviously a huge move forward in the industry. Our research showed. Do you want to talk about the gaps that we saw or the problems that shoppers had as they were looking?
Yeah, I mean, really, as we were doing research, the things that we found that were really driving home shoppers out of the new home market and towards resale homes was that people just think that the new build process is going to be too much of a hassle. That also they have a hard time figuring out what the home's actually going to cost, and they think it's too time consuming to go through the process to actually get that information. And then they can't figure out, kind of like what you said, Anya, they can't figure out what gets added to the base price to arrive at a final purchase price for a new home.
Yeah, because the people that we interviewed, they didn't understand that, okay, there's floor plan options and I'll pay, more for some of those. And some exterior designs, I'm going to pay more for one over another. And then I'm going to pay for a home site. And then I'm going to pay for finishes. And then they don't understand any of that. So when they look at the base price, if a builder's saying from the 400s, and they want to spend 450, they assume that that's going to work. And so what happens is salespeople are sorting through all these leads that aren't really buyers because they don't understand what it's going to cost to actually get what they want.
Yes. And I mean, on average, I think the number is, what is it? About 20% is what people spend from the base price. If it's 400, really the end product is going to be closer to it 480, which
Yeah.
is a big difference. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's a huge difference. And Mark, I can so relate to what you said earlier about your friend that they bought a used home. Part of it was because he didn't want to go into the showroom and disappoint his wife. And um, the builder that I worked for, we kind of had a couple of different scenarios. One, you had your design center, which you go to, but then there's also some options where they got to select them with me in the basement of the house. And so I specifically remember being in a lot of really, really uncomfortable situations
Mhm.
that I was like, I really shouldn't be part of this conversation right now. Where they were basically getting into fights over like what options they wanted to put in, the budget, and all of that. And that to me is, as a consumer, horrifying. Like if I can imagine having those conversations with my husband in front of a stranger, essentially, right?
Mhm.
Right.
So one of the things obviously is an ability to take that experience completely online, and
Exactly.
to let that bickering and working itself out take place entirely online. Now, one of the things that I've seen from research is that consumers are not only ready for the self-service of picking all the options online, but we also see that when they're giving a choice, the opportunity to select their options online as opposed to going into design center, that they actually end up spending a lot more money on their own versus in design center. And as we all know, builders make their money on options.
Right. And what's happened now, I think, with builders is that they, by doing the visualization, they really have changed how they're doing things, but they've really only modified the sort of tried and true practices to a digital reality versus looking at, okay, so we're in a totally different market now. Like, you don't have to get in your car to get pricing for anything else besides new homes. I mean, really. And so instead of saying, okay, what do we need to do to be relevant in this new marketplace that we're in, that was changing, well before COVID, but has accelerated,
Mhm.
and really looking at that, they're just kind of trying to plug and play what they've been doing. So for instance, we did an online shop, and we identified an area that had both new and resale homes. We kind of picked an average price point, average size home. And there were 6 builders that had product that looked like it might match what we kind of said we were looking for. And so we reached out to all 6 to get pricing, because none of that's on the website, right? Like, we knew the base price, but we had no idea if what
Finished.
we really
Yeah.
wanted was going to be within the price point that we kind of selected.
Mhm.
So out of those 6, we never heard anything back from 4 of them, like nothing. One of them emailed us back, but wouldn't give us any information and would only schedule an appointment with an on-site salesperson for us to physically go in and meet with somebody. One of them actually gave us some of the information, but then ultimately it was like, I can't really give you any more. You need to go meet with the on-site salesperson. And we looked at each other and we thought, this is crazy. I mean, there's no other purchase that you have to go to the physical location to even understand if it's something that you might want to buy. And so that's when we realized, those 55% of lost sales, it's because they go to a builder's website and they're so overwhelmed and they're so confused that they just go to resale. And it's really sad because they could get such a better, I mean, new homes are so much better. Like, they could just get such a better product, a better house, and be happier and live there longer, but they're not, because we're making it as an industry too difficult for people.
This makes me literally cringe when you say that of 6 builders that you reached out to, that 4 didn't even respond, and that the ones that responded weren't willing to give you the pricing. Now, I'm not entirely surprised by not wanting to give you pricing, and I kind of wanted to touch on that because I think a lot of builders listening right now may be like, um here's the reasoning. At least when I worked for a national builder, this is the reasoning why they said they did not want to give pricing to the customers. They thought that the customer would be too overwhelmed with this information, that they wouldn't be able to figure it out, and that the reason why we wanted to have the pricing only available to the salesperson, because it gave the salesperson an ability to control the sales process,
Mhm.
Right.
which I can see that perspective of it, and I can see the other side of it. So let's unpack this. One, um, controlling the sales process. I think the consumer has no tolerance for this anymore, right?
Mhm.
This practice of I'm withholding the information from you. I'm controlling the sales process. Like, let's face that. That is so old school. And people who are buying homes right now, which is primarily millennials, and we're
Mhm.
starting to see Generation Z entering, or the oldest of Generation Z starting to, or that's going to be
Right.
definitely the next big wave. They have zero tolerance for that. The second point about the consumer being confused by this information, it's like, no shit, they're going to be confused because you're giving them 30 pages of basically code of elevation A, blah blah blah. There's no description. So I know that you guys didn't just do all this research and sit back and say, well, this sucks. I know you
Yes.
guys actually did something about it. So why don't you tell us, what is it that you guys created? And because I know that it certainly addresses the portion about, oh, I can figure out what this means.
Yeah. So we spent about a year. My brother and his business partner have a really successful software company out in California. And so we partnered with them to help create this new platform for builders. It's patent pending. It's a subscription service that builders can use from their website. It's called Price Builder. And it really does exactly what we're talking about. It simplifies the pieces that go into a new home for a consumer to understand. It keeps them from getting in the weeds. The guys that helped us on the tech side really understand customer experience. And so they really help saying, okay, bring it back to what's simple. Bring it back to what's simple. Don't confuse people, give them the information that they need on a very high level, and then get them to a salesperson, because the salesperson then does all the fun, interactive, like showing them the options and all of that. So that's kind of the system. Do you want to talk about how it
Yes.
works?
So what it does is it basically allows a shopper to virtually build any home plan on a builder's website, along with an estimated price and monthly payment that update in real time as the user's selecting, the various options, the floor plan options, the elevation, the home site, finish level, and landscaping. And it's really simple. It deploys with the URL, so there's no need for the builders to do any website updates or anything like that to integrate it. It's super mobile friendly. In fact, we designed it first for mobile and then desktop after that, so people can easily use it from their phones as they're walking through models or something like that. And really, the goal of the Price Builder system is to make the components that go into the new build simple and high level, to allow shoppers to self-qualify and move forward without getting lost in the weeds of too many decisions, too many options, too many things like that, and thus lost to the relative simplicity of a resale home. So in the system, all the content and categories are completely customizable by the builder, so they can customize it to their specific product offering and needs. It's currently being used for a wide range of products, from semi-custom homes to traditional single family to multifamily as well. And the feedback we've been receiving from the builders using it is really positive.
Mm-hmm. So basically, it's like it becomes part of your website, right? So if I'm a builder and I already have my own website,
Yep.
and maybe I have a virtual tour on the website, it kind of overlaps another layer onto it, so that when I select certain floor plan, it starts off by adding the base price of that floor plan. It
Yep.
shows me the floor plan, and then as I select options, structural options in this floor plan, it actually changes the price real time. So get this concept, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, right? I can actually see not only what my total is, but it also shows me a mortgage calculator of what approximately it's going to cost. And I know you guys also took it a step further, and you actually incorporated taxes and HOA into this platform.
Yeah,
Which
because that's what we hear from builders is, online salespeople, that's a lot of the questions that they're getting, because people are really trying to understand, does this home fit in my budget? So, if I know how much I can spend per month on my mortgage, they need to be able to factor in what is the actual tax rate of, that community,
Mhm.
and what is the HOA, so that they have an accurate understanding going in. I think that, some builders might feel like, well, wow, we're giving them all that information, And so maybe they're going to think they can't afford it. But the reality is people's budgets really are like their budget is their budget. So the option is to get people in your, interacting with your salespeople who are not qualified and really aren't going to be qualified, or to skip all of that and get right to the qualified shoppers.
Mm-hmm.
And then the experience is so much better for everybody because the salespeople then have time to create a great experience for the real buyers instead of spending so much time, weeding through trying to figure out who actually can afford to buy their homes.
Yes, so important. And I think part of that process too is, like you said, okay, well, maybe they think they're not going to be qualified or they're not going to know to afford it. Like I know when I worked for a big national builder, one of the really good things they did was they really trained us on financing parts. I could actually sit down with the customer and get them pre-qualified. Of course, I wasn't a loan officer, but I would ask them all the questions about their financing, how much they make, what their expenses are, get a rough idea for the credit score, and kind of figure out like, hey, this is how much you could potentially qualify for, and this would be your monthly, how much per month you could potentially spend on the home, which gave them that aha, like, okay, which I think is important thing to incorporate maybe in your website if you are working, say, with a lender who's handling financing for your website. I think that's really important to have that information available to them as well, so that you are taking the customers through this funnel of, hey, we're giving you information, but also, hey, this is the price of the house, and at the end you're going to need, say, X amount for the down payment, and maybe they don't know they can borrow that from their 401k or whatever else, and that's where that loan officer can come in and really help assist with that. Or as you're saying, the really the salesperson steps in to take over that process and really deep dive with them on that. But I think you need to disclose that basic information. And we're not talking nitty gritty, the color or the 10 different faucet options that could really lose the customer in the weeds, right? You're
Yep.
talking
Yes.
high level, like, hey, if I want my bathroom to be that luxury suite setup, and I want to have a balcony or a deck off of the dining room space, and I want to have a sunroom, as I add those options, at least like big item options, I can get an idea. And then as I'm adding that, again, I'm seeing what the monthly payment looks like. So I can, again, get an idea. Okay, so if I'm going to go into that design center, and maybe I am going to spend another $20,000 on the faucets and this and that, at least I can see what the $20,000 price adds and how that reflects on my wallet. So I feel much
Mm-hmm.
more confident and much more equipped to go into it and making those decisions. And then also think about, your design center person, like they, I mean, I know that they're overwhelmed, when people come in and they're basically starting from scratch versus somebody comes in, even if they have to come in at all. And now instead of talking about, from I have no idea what's available to now I'm actually just narrowing it down. Like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
I know I really like those two options. I already looked at it online. Now it's just a matter of figuring out which one I want to go with.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
Make sure.
interesting that, as we developed the system, that piece, the finishes section of it was, where it could have gotten super complicated.
Mhm.
And we have seen, the platforms that other companies have that allow shoppers online to go through, every piece of the design studio process. And we really wanted to not go that direction because it's just at the point of the website for a builder, people are trying to get them into their search or out of their search. They're trying to qualify whether they want to move forward at that point. So to give them all of that detail is just, it's too much. They get lost in it. And so the builders that are using the system are doing it really high level. So like we have a semi-custom builder and they said, okay, the lowest that somebody's realistically going to spend in our design studio is 50,000. The highest that somebody's going to spend is probably 150, and maybe somewhere in between is 100. And literally, like, that's what they give people so that they have an idea. They're not falling in love with specific finishes. They're just getting an understanding of what they're going to pay so that then the salesperson can really walk them through all of that, because it is better, that stuff is better person to person, we think.
Yeah. And it helps people show up at the design center with a realistic expectation of what they're going to spend, as opposed to showing up and just getting blindsided by the amount that it's going to cost them. So,
yeah.
Yes. And and if you're holding on to the delusion that if you don't show the pricing on your website that they're actually going to come into your model home to get that, you are I'm sorry to say delusional.
yeah.
That is not happening anymore. That is not happening anymore. So they're going to do exactly what I did when I bought my dishwasher, and they're going to go to the builder that shows that on their website. They're simply
Yep.
going to eliminate you just
Yep.
because you're holding on to that idea of, hey, I don't want to show, I'm going to do it this way because I want to control, I want to, not uh, disappoint them or whatever else. It just doesn't work. The the bottom line is our shoppers are much more educated these days. A lot of them do have a better idea for the budget and how much they can afford, and by showing them this, you are essentially uh, like targeting with the missile somebody, right? Because now you know that they are your target market because that price actually works for them. So in the hot market like what we're in right now, that works really well because, like you said, Betsy, instead of meeting with 100 people and trying to figure out if any of them qualify or if any of them are a good fit, now you maybe narrowed it down to 30 that actually said, yes, this price point works for me.
Right.
Now, what do you say to a builder who's thinking, well, this hard market is not going to last all the time, and in a downturn, how would this benefit me?
So it's actually interesting because this market, I think, has really highlighted that gap that the Zillow research showed. So NAR right now is saying that I think resale inventory is down about 27%.
Mhm.
And concurrently, new home sales are up about 19%. So we're clearly demonstrating that those two are tied together. So as we come out of the current market and more resale inventory comes on the market, builders really have to be working now at how to figuring out, like the tool that we have, some other things, how to capture those buyers that think it's too hard and are moving, quickly away. For marketers, you're spending so much money getting somebody to your website. If you're not giving them what they need, they are just leaving and they're going and buying a resale home. And so, now is the time. Most marketers, you're delivering so many prospects to your salespeople, you can actually kind of take a step back and think through some of these things and be putting those processes into place. The builders that are doing that now are going to come out and they are going to be grabbing a lot of market share because there's such a big area of opportunity for changing some things, the way that you do things, to make sure that you're making it easy for the shopper. I think for a long time we kind of thought, well, that's customer experience and making it easy, that's great, but that doesn't really help me as a builder. But what we've seen so clearly is if you do the things that the shopper needs, if you build it, they will come. And when you need them to come, when there's all of a sudden resale is really competitive again, that's when the work that you're doing now is really going to pay off.
I couldn't agree more with you. And that's where we have the opportunity to take the market share from resale because it hurts my heart when I hear that 7 and 9%. It's crazy. And one other thing that I know we didn't talk about, but I know that it's huge when it comes to conversions, is that this endowment effect where you give somebody ownership of the process and they feel bought in. So it's much harder to give up. So that's why we see free trials for for whatever, like say you sign up for a software program or whatever, they give you free trial. The reason why they do that is because once that free trial is over, it's a lot more difficult to give that up. And so say same thing happens when a customer goes to your website and they start to create a home of their dreams on your website, and they're actually customizing that home to what they want. Now
Right.
they become bought into this process, and it's a lot more difficult for them to give that up because they essentially become the emotional owner of this home.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah, exactly.
so that's a huge thing. So now you guys mentioned that it's a software, so it's a subscription service. So what kind of cost are we looking at? Is this something that's affordable for smaller builders? Because I think in this game, that's where we really can, a lot of smaller builders can really benefit from this. I mean, a lot of national builders, already have that advantage, and obviously it would be great for no matter what size. But what type of pricing are we looking at?
Yeah, so I mean, we work with smaller builders. So
Mhm.
we talk to a lot of people and try to design the pricing to be, really easy and not budget breaking. So do you want to talk about pricing?
Yeah, so the pricing's outlined on our website, but basically there's a flat fee of $99 per month to use the system, and then there's a fee per community based upon how many communities the builder has entered in the system. Obviously, as you have more communities, the price per community goes down a little bit.
So yeah, it's between 249 and 149 per month per community.
Mhm.
Okay. You mean your pricing is disclosed on your website?
It
Yes,
is shockingly.
imagine.
Shocking. Wow.
And you can buy it right from our website
Yep.
too. You can just sign up right there if you like it and want to move forward. But we also love to do Zoom demos with people, with builders, and kind of talk through, what are your unique circumstances, what's unique about your product, and how could we kind of set it up to work best for you.
Mhm.
Mhm. So speaking of this service, so if somebody wanted to find out more about what you guys are doing, what's the
Mhm.
website? How do we sign up? How do we take advantage of this new service?
Sure. So the website is pricebuilder.com. It's priceBLDR.com. If people want to try it out, there's actually a try it out button on our homepage that deploys a live sample of the Price Builder platform, so people can kind of play around with it and get a feel for how it works. Like Betsy said, we're happy to do Zoom demos with people. They can either schedule a demo via our website or just drop us an email, which is info@pricebuilder.com. Again, that's priceBLDR.com. You can sign up directly from our website. There's a payment form there. And we're also happy to offer any of your listeners 50% off for the first 2 months. They just need to use the coupon code ANYA50 at checkout, and that's ANYA50 with no spaces.
Love that. So thank you so much, guys. That's really generous of you. So if you are looking to step up your game when it comes to customer experience and really take advantage of the new way to sell homes, this is the future. Think about the future. Customers are not going to have any tolerance for no pricing on the website, and you guys certainly make it super affordable for builders to implement that strategy. And again, I'm sure as you have more and more builders implement this, I would love to have you back on the podcast to talk specific numbers, because I know that the conversion percentages are going to go through the roof.
Mhm.
And that's really where this tool is so helpful. It's not it's not a barrier to entry. It is the basic information that your customers need in order to make that decision to move forward. And I think that's so important to understand. Now, guys, thank you so much for being on today. I really appreciate your time. If somebody wants to, reach out to you on social, do you hang out on social media at all? What's the place besides your website where we can connect with you?
Yeah, LinkedIn, definitely follow us. Price Builder, BLDR. Yeah, we're on LinkedIn and we're, posting stuff and talking, having these kind of conversations ongoing. So we would love that. And we would love to come back. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you. We really appreciate it.
It was
Thank
really
you.
fun.
It was my pleasure. As my listeners already know, that's been definitely a hot topic for me for a long
Yep.
time that I've been talking about, and I'm so happy to see a company that is actually doing something about it to help us sell a ton more homes. So thank you for being on, and I will see you hopefully in person very soon.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.